Well, I hope everybody's having a happy Independence Day. Oh, as I kick over everything. Never am I prepared for being prepared. Anyway, happy Independence Day. It is the 4th of July. It is a day of feast and fellowship. Wait, is that supposed to be Christmas? Anyway, what we've got here, I thought I would go over the Declaration of Independence. I'm not so sure I even realize how important it is. And I am a self-proclaimed and very much so to the annoyance of my wife, a history nerd. And this here is the National Archives in Washington, D.C. And if you are going to D.C., or if you haven't been to D.C., you need to go here. This should be the very first stop in your trip. What you're looking at here is the United States Constitution. And right here is the Declaration of Independence. The actual Declaration of Independence. The one that was voted on July 4th, 1776. We had already been in skirmishes and at war with Britain since April of 75. The Revolutionary War went on for a very long time. It was, I think, like 8 years or so. When you look at it, you see, not many people died or whatnot. They did. And probably more people died. I mean, why would they keep numbers of them? For one thing, you don't think about the people that didn't come to America because we were in a war. You don't think about the people that, I'm sure there are people that starved to death because they couldn't get supplies. It was everything that we did for economics was controlled by the British. I mean, it was a bunch of criminals for 8 years running around doing criminal stuff to make money. Think about that. Golly, man, it's just weird. So anyway, the document that was passed by Congress, written by Thomas Jefferson, overseen by Benjamin Franklin and John Adams. Let's read it. I'm sure I'll stop. I'm sure I'll comment. But like I said, I don't think I've ever read it just to read it. I'm sure I've read it for school, but this is a principles. This is not a law. There's nothing in here. Some people try to take things out of this to try to apply in like court cases and whatnot. But this is a document of what it is to be a free man. This is a document of what it is to be an American. We are the world's unwanted children. Okay? Our ancestors came over here because they didn't fit in where they were. So, that being said, in Congress, July 4th, 1776, the unanimous declaration of the 13 United States of America. When in the course of human events it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political bands which have connected them with another, and to assume among the powers of the earth the separate and equal station to which the laws of nature and of nature's God entitle them, a decent respect to the opinions of mankind requires that they should declare the causes for which impelled them to the separation. Jefferson is an artist with a pen. So, that first paragraph, we're going to separate, y'all. Let's do this. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, They are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That's what God gave you. That's what God gave you the right to do. That to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, not a king, men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed. That whenever any form of government becomes destructive by these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or to abolish it, and to institute new government, laying its foundation on such principles and organizing its powers in such form as to them shall seem most likely to affect their safety and happiness. Now, when it says to abolish it, that's Europe has taken that as a model. And you'll hear, the new government of England, or I think they've used the word abolish before. What it is when they have multiple parties over there in Parliament, and they create coalitions to have a majority. If a coalition breaks up and one party goes and joins another party, and creates a new coalition with a majority, then their government's been broken up, and they have to start a new government. That's a new government's very, very common term with Britain. Let's see here. Happiness. Let's see here. Prudence indeed will dictate that governments long established should not be changed for light and transient causes, and accordingly all experience hath shown that mankind are more disposed to suffer while evils are sufferable than to right themselves by abolishing the forms to which they are accustomed. But when a long train of abuses and assertions, pursuing invariably the same object, evinces a design to reduce them under absolute despotism, it is their right, it is their duty to throw off such government and to provide new guards for their future security. I've not read the Declaration of Independence since I've graduated from law school. I realized that at this moment. And that is a disgrace. And I apologize to my family, my friends, and to everybody who's listening. This is awesome. This is awesome. I say since law school, why that's so powerful to me is because you have to understand your way of thinking is altered. You're, for lack of a better term, you would say you were brainwashed. Lawyers are different people. If there's a lawyer listening to this, they will attest to that. It's an amazing transformation your mind makes. And now, looking at this through a different lens, I'm touched. I'm moved. I can feel. I feel a chill coming from inside my body. This is awesomely written. Such has been the patient sufferance of these colonies, and such is now the necessity which constrains them to alter their former systems of government. The history of the present King of Great Britain is a history of repeated injuries and usurpations, all having indirect object the establishment of an absolute tyranny over these states. To prove this, let facts be submitted to a candid world. Oh my gosh, this is awesome. Now, they're talking about the king here, and I printed these out. I'm a printer guy, and I think everybody should be. You should have access to a printer and print out things that mean the most to you. I try to keep things together, and every once in a while I end up not keeping them together. But this is, we should have copies. Everybody should have a copy. All right. The facts to the candid world. The king, he has refused to assent to laws the most wholesome and necessary for the public good. He has forbidden his governors to pass laws of immediate and pressing importance unless suspended in their operation till his assent should be obtained, and when so suspended, it has utterly neglected to attend to them. He has refused to pass over laws for the accommodation of large districts of people, unless those people would relinquish the right to a representation in the legislature, a right inestimable to them and formidable to tyrants only. He has called together legislative bodies at places unusual, uncomfortable, and distant from the depository of their public records for the sole purpose of fatiguing them into compliance with his measures. He has dissolved representative houses repeatedly for opposing with manly firmness his invasions of the rights of the people. He has refused for a long time, after such dissolutions, to cause others to be elected, whereby the legislative powers incapable of annihilation have returned to the people at large for their exercise, the state remaining in the meantime exposed to all the dangers of invasion from without and convulsions within. He has endeavored to prevent the population of these states for that purpose, obstructing the laws for naturalization of foreigners, refusing to pass others to encourage their migration hither, and raising the conditions of new appropriations of lands. Y'all, these are complaints we have today. They haven't changed. You can't help but feel like you're some sort of a pawn. Wow. He has obstructed the administration of justice by refusing his assent to laws and establishing judiciary powers. He has made judges dependent on his will alone for the tenure of their offices and the amount and payment of their salaries. He has erected a multitude of new offices and sent hither swarms of officers to harass our people and eat out their substance. My gosh, that's again today. He's kept among us in times of peace standing armies without the consent of our legislatures. Wasn't that the last presidential inauguration? He is affected to render the military independent of and superior to the civil power. Wow. He is... that's habeas corpus, right? No. That's, gosh, I can't think of it now. I messed up. Sorry. That's standing armies in the... it's the military governor. Wow. He is combined with others to subject us to a jurisdiction foreign to our Constitution and acknowledged by our laws, giving his assent to the acts of pretended legislation. This again, I mean, look at this. He has combined power to subject us to a jurisdiction of foreign to our Constitution. He is... I mean, that's just... that happens today. That's... I mean, I immediately think of the idea of a world court type of scenario where you're going to be under the, I guess, jurisdiction of a court that's not accountable to the United States. For quartering large bodies of armed troops among us, for protecting them by a mock trial from punishment for any murders which they should commit to the inhabitants of these states. Inhabitants of these states. You know, that's what people say about the disarm the police type movement here recently. They're talking about how they have qualified immunity, and qualified immunity goes against. It's like a mock trial for cutting off our trade with all parts of the world, for imposing taxes on us without our consent, for depriving us in many cases on the benefits of trial by jury, for transporting us beyond seas to be tried for pretended offenses, for abolishing the free system of English laws in a neighboring province, establishing therein an arbitrary government, and enlarging its boundaries so as to render it at once an example and fit instrument for introducing the same absolute rule to these colonies. I think they're probably talking about Canada, right? For taking away our charters, abolishing our most valuable laws, and altering fundamentally the forms of our government. This is a long list. For suspending our own legislatures and declaring themselves invested with power to legislate for us in all cases whatsoever. He has abdicated government here by declaring us out of his protection and waging war against us. He has plundered our seas, ravaged our coast, burnt our towns, and destroyed the lives of our people. He is at this time transporting large armies of foreign mercenaries to complete the works of death, dissolution, and tyranny already begun with circumstances of cruelty and perfidy scarcely paralleled with the most barbarous ages and totally unworthy of the head of a civilized nation. Wow, that's a mouthful. He has constrained our fellow citizens, taken captive on the high seas to bear arms against their country, to become the executioners of their friends and brethren, or to fall themselves by their hands. That was, they would take ships. The British would take the ships, our merchant ships, and enlist the men into the Navy. Into the British Navy, make them fight. He has excited domestic insurrections against us and has endeavored to bring on the inhabitants of our frontiers the merciless Indian savages, whose known rule of warfare is an undistinguished destruction of all ages, sexes, and conditions. In every stage of these oppressions, we have petitioned for redress in the most humble terms. Our repeated petitions have been answered only by repeated injury. A prince whose character is thus marked by every act which may define a tyrant is unfit to be a ruler of the free people. Nor have we been wanting in attentions to our British brethren. We have warned them from time to time of attempts by their legislature to extend an unwarrantable jurisdiction over us. We have reminded them of the circumstances of our immigration and settlement here. We have appealed to their native justice and magnanimity, and we have conjured them by the ties of our common kindred to disavow these usurpacious, which would inevitably interrupt our connections and correspondence. They too have been deaf to the voice of justice and consanguinity. We must therefore acquiesce to the necessity which denounces our separation and hold them as we hold the rest of mankind, enemies in war, in peace, friends. Wow. We, therefore, the representatives of the United States of America, in General Congress, assembled, appealing to the Supreme Judge of the world for the recited of our intentions due in the name and by authority of the good people of these colonies, solemnly publish and declare that these united colonies are and of right ought to be free and independent states, that they are absolved from all allegiance to the British Crown, that all political connection between them and the state of Great Britain is and ought to be totally dissolved, and that as free and independent states, they have full power to levy war, conclude peace, contract alliances, establish commerce, and to do all other acts and things which independent states may of right do. And for the support of this declaration, with a firm reliance to the protection of our divine providence, we mutually pledge to each other our lives and our fortunes and our sacred honor. That is an amazing letter. That is amazing. So, I hope y'all enjoyed that. My comments were, I tried to keep them down. So many times I wanted to stop and say something about it that I didn't. And I still feel like I did it too many times. But listen, y'all, be safe. Fire up the barbecue. Get your smoker going. I hope you got tomorrow off. Love you guys. Love America. Godspeed. God bless America. Oh, please give me a subscribe. Go ahead and hit that like button while you're there. I need those subscriptions up. Thanks, guys. You're the greatest, and America's the greatest too. And thank you, God, for putting us here in this country and putting this country here on this earth. Peace out, guys.